The stock market is rising and you're feeling good. So you go to the restaurant and find the menu items have increased as well. No big deal, still making profit. Then you go to the grocery store and your favorite products have risen. No worries, still making some profit. And the story goes on. So what exactly is the end result? You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we are going to look at rental prices. Are you in Toronto? Are you in Vancouver? Then you have seen rental prices increase. But it's not just particular cities. We are seeing this globally. I will show you examples right now of some of the cities which have experienced increases in rental prices. And I'm not talking about a small percentage here that would go gradually with inflation. No, not at all. We are seeing a dramatic spike in this occurring. Now, this wouldn't be so bad if wages were keeping up. But need I remind some individuals out there that it's not even close. Not even close. So let's go through this quickly. And I say that every single time. Done over 1,000 videos. I made that promise probably about 800 times that I'll make a quick video. It never happens, but let's try it. Anyway, Toronto rental prices jumped 30%. 30% in 6 months. That is just ridiculous. 30% in 6 months when people, they just can't keep up with that. It's just not possible. But that's the way it's going. Now, why are people renting so much? Well, quite frankly, for those who can't afford buying a home, they're getting into rentals. There are obviously different reasons for this, but let's just focus on that one fact. Some people can't afford a down payment, they have to rent. Maybe it's temporarily, there's job situations, there's all types of reasons. But a lot of the people simply can't afford a down payment. That's what's going on here. But when the prices of the rental market are skyrocketing, they tend to decide, look, if I have to put this much money in to rentals, I might as well just buy a home. And there are, of course, the alternative mortgage lenders, which are giving people who don't have down payment money the ability to buy a home. And then, of course, you get the subprime type crisis that we encountered not too long ago that's actually happening again today. Rents forecast to rise faster than house prices during the next 5 years. Where is this? This is out of the UK this time. Moving on. We're looking at rent prices in Dublin rising at the fastest rate on record. Okay, these are all new pieces of information, relatively new. Residential rental prices rise in Berlin despite a rent cap. So that's one other example. Going to Europe, rent prices on the rise in Rhode Island. This right here, just one small example of how many I found. Orlando, home prices and rents on the rise. Both of them are rising. It's not as if just rents or just the purchasing of the home that's rising. No, it's both. And it's not just real estate. It is essentially everything on the rise right now, except for wages. That's what I find so interesting. And these were just a bunch of examples that I had found. And you just look at the overall, this is from the St. Louis Fed, Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers' rent of primary residence, okay? So when you look at this over the years, it has increased, obviously. There's no doubt about that. And you'll notice that other than this little tiny blip, the prices have been rising steadily, year after year after year. And this is using their fake CPI index. These are the most fake numbers we can find, but even still, this has increased far beyond wages. That's what's so critical to understand, is that you simply cannot afford it at some point. So what exactly is the end result? If people can't afford to buy and then suddenly they can't afford to rent, what do? Well, here is the solution. All-inclusive co-living. Might be hard to read this font here, but I'll just quickly go over it. All-inclusive co-living. What does that mean? Well, essentially, you're living in a dormitory where you would share facilities between other strangers. So perhaps you live there, you have your own bedroom, not in all cases, in fact. Some of them have shared bedrooms. And you would then share services, share the bathroom, share the kitchen, share other things. And you would obviously pay a very low rate compared to what somebody living in a one-bedroom condominium would be paying. This is where it's going. It's not just Manhattan. This is, in fact, happening all over the world now. In all-inclusive co-living. Now, I would think if you're into that, I think this is totally fine. Why not save money? Why not? You know, a lot of people, they're working themselves to the bone, 60 hours and 80 hours and everything else per week. They get home, they basically go right to bed. So essentially, they're just looking for a place to sleep every night. So for these people, I think it's fine. I think that this is great. But if you are doing this simply because you can't afford it, then we have a problem. We have a big problem. And this is where I see it all going. And then I want to sort of just switch gears for a moment here as we move on. I have a bunch of different points that I want to make for these next articles here. This right here is talking about pop-up shops. A lot of retail locations are no longer able to stay open, so they're shutting the doors down. I just did a video about this recently. And essentially what's happening is you're leaving a lot of retail space empty. So in those places, you'll find pop-up shops. And a lot of those landlords don't really want to get into this, at least previously, because it's really, you want a longer lease as a landlord. You don't want this quick little pop-up shops to happen. But now, apparently, according to the stats, it's showing that, in fact, the landlords are simply having to go to this direction because they can't get full-time leasing. And so a little bit of income is better than no income. And this is all from, partially, I should say, what has happened with the shift towards online. But I do believe that there is let's cover quickly a few points. The fact that the government supports certain companies, the government supports certain industries, and as a result, we see a chasm in between those with wealth and those without, those that hold real assets and those who do not. And you see a big gap in between the rich and the poor, and you will find the disappearing of the middle class. You're seeing companies being completely eradicated and other companies, even within that same sector, doing very well. And of course, this is just what happens. Certain companies are more profitable and then they get better deals and this and that. That's the way it is with competition. But unfortunately, the government has reached over the boundaries and they have decided to subsidize certain things. That causes this big divide, and you'll see that. You'll see that very clearly. And this has caused a very big problem where you would traditionally see certain aspects of the economy doing well or poorly in a recession or in a booming time, and now everything's all mixed up. So that's what I just wanted to make this point of that, which interconnects with the previous video that I did, which many people had some issues with. This right here is just basically talking about people are not going out for lunch as much. This is basically what it's talking about, that restaurants are really suffering under the lunch menus. I think there's a lot to this, and I just wanted to mention the fact that things are changing over time. That's all. That's all I wanted to point out. Let me move on quickly. Average revenue per employee by sector. The only reason I mention this is that we have a big difference in companies, and a lot of what we're seeing is when the sectors are subsidized. And this is one of the biggest. Energy gets a big subsidy from the government, and I do believe that's very important. You won't find that in a lot of other industries, the amount that energy gets. I do believe that's something that's critical. Healthcare is also another big one, but clearly you'll see everything is sort of in this direction here, and then you'll find there's a big jump that occurs with energy. And there's a lot to that, but let's just keep it there. Let me move on quickly here. Oil prices. So a lot of what we have seen, over the recent past is that they're claiming that oil has risen from its bottom, and that is absolutely true. But they make the point right here in this chart is that yes, it's risen, but it's nowhere near where it was just a few years ago now. Time really flies. Oil prices are not up, they aren't down as much as they were a year ago. And this is the kind of thing that we need to realize with all charts. You need to really look at it, yes, on the short term, but also zoom out and really take a look at where these prices were a little while ago. I mean, you're looking at over $100 a barrel and then dropping down significantly. While it has come up, it's still down from where it was. You look at these fake numbers with the inventory and everything else. How was it at $100 a barrel? And then all of a sudden, in a very short, just look at this. Look at this drop down, the first drop. Could that possibly be due to an inventory glut? Are you telling me in this short period of time, essentially this area, that they decided that there was an inventory glut all of a sudden? No, it's not possible. This is all because of what happens with all these financial instruments, the traders and the computer algorithms, and they wanted the prices to come down. There are many reasons for this. Perhaps what's going on with Saudi Arabia and everything else with the US and Russia, all interconnected. I've done videos about that before. And then I just wanted to mention this. I think this is really interesting. The fall in the value of the Venezuelan bolivar. And what I want to note here is what they say right here, that this is the y-axis inverted. So look at that in a different way than what I've shown you before. And people believe that they'll be able to get out of the disaster if they have to. They'll be able to sell their stocks and this and that. When it happens too quickly. If you're not already prepared when the stuff hits the fan, you will not be able to get out. That's just the way it is. That's how it's happened in every crash that we have seen. You think that the government will be there to backstop it, or you'll be able to get your stop orders put in place. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. And then, every time I read something like this, I'm upset, I'm sad, I just mixed emotions, none of which are positive. And this right here is that they're going to release genetically engineered moths. And, when I see this type of news, it just really upsets me, because now they've gone beyond the crops, which that's bad enough. They were going in the laboratory and they're trying to genetically modify everything. They're creating freaks, literal freaks, when they're putting jellyfish genes into cats and all these other things to try and create these literally freak animals. Then they decided to genetically modify salmon, approved it for sale. You know that if you eat salmon today, you very well could be eating salmon that literally has a 6-pack abs. Like, it's ridiculous. It's disgusting. from what they've done. They genetically modified the mosquitoes, released them into the wild. Just so happens everywhere they release them, that's where Zika is. I don't know how it all works. I'm not a scientist. I just noted that. Wherever there's Zika, that's where the genetically engineered mosquitoes are every single time. And then now moths. I mean, what can they stop this? Can they really stop it? No, because when they allow this to happen, it spreads and it spreads and it spreads, and they don't know the consequences. They don't care about the consequences. It's all about making money, trying to purposely create a crisis so that we become self-servient. That's the whole thing. What if these moths wipe out entire crops? Let's say there was no more corn tomorrow. What would happen? I mean, obviously, we would have mass chaos because so many people rely on that. You're talking about job suffering. But of course, you'll have these biotech companies which come out that say our seed is resistant to all of the dangers that have happened. Don't worry, buy our crops, plant them, you'll do just fine. Oh wait, it's going to be 10 times the price. You know how it works. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. I think I did pretty good, not too long. So if you found this video informative, I know you will find my book, The Money GPS, and my new release, Global Economic Collapse, even more informative. If you want to look through the books, just go over to Amazon. They have a look inside feature that allows you to flip through these books to see if you like them. If you want to get the audiobook for the new release, Global Economic Collapse, that's on my website, themoneygps.com. And I'm also on Steemit. Many people have asked, when are you getting on Steemit? When are you getting on Steemit? I am on Steemit. I put all of these videos onto Steemit. And I also have some, content that's not available on YouTube also that I've been putting on there. So check me out on Steemit. For those who don't know what Steemit is, essentially it is a way for individuals to be putting up their work onto a social media platform and actually get rewarded. You get rewarded in digital currency, which then you can convert to Bitcoin and all that stuff. So it's pretty cool. It's an interesting concept. It's new. A lot of other individuals who do this kind of YouTube work, they are also on there as well. So I'm basically getting on the bandwagon. Many people have asked me, please get on Steemit. They seem to be transitioning off of YouTube onto Steemit, so I thought it was interesting. So check me out on there. Of course, at The Money GPS, the link is in the description. Take care.